All right, so today I want to talk about one of my most favorite openings. I love the Evans Gambit, but I also love the fried liver. And I'm going to talk about a specific line within the fried liver where the queen comes out to f3. And in a lot of fried liver positions, white tends to actually end up being on the back foot. A lot of the times black will get really active pieces, and if black knows what they're doing, can quickly counter white's initiative and look to attack. And this queen f3 line has a lot of interesting places for black to actually go wrong. And at the end of the day, I think white gets a equal or better position, and we'll talk about that. But ultimately, this is definitely the line that I will be looking to play. A lot of people will play bishop back to d3 or bishop e2 after the normal sequence, and I've been playing that, and I've really found that it doesn't lead to that much of an advantage for white at all. It ends up just being a real pain in the ass to get out of. So today we're gonna go over this queen to f3 line, and let's get into it. Before we do anything, I really want to put the trackster to bed because people think this is a dangerous opening. Um, but I think it's kind of bullshit. Because at the end of the day, after here, all you have to do as white here is just remember to take with the bishop and deliver a check. Like, just don't take with the knight. That's all you have to remember. Once this check happens, white is forced to play here or here. And either way, you just drop the bishop back. Drop the bishop back. If the king comes forward, just remember maybe bishop c4 is a little stronger. But you're coming back to one of these two squares. Bishop b3 is fine either way. If you want to play the best move, then bishop c4 is actually the strongest move if the king comes to e8. But at the end of the day, there's really not anything here for black. There's nothing that they can do because they just don't have time here. Essentially, after bishop takes, king over, bishop comes back, you've simply won a pawn. And black can really, I mean, look at this. Look at this. White is scoring incredibly well after these positions. It's all the problem from the trackster arises when people play knight takes. And look, it's the most popular move, but it's not. It's just wrong. It's the wrong move. It gets into really sharp lines. And if you want to play really sharp lines where white is usually going to be worse, then go for it. But this bishop takes f7 move it simply neutralizes all of black's threats here. And there's nothing that they can do. I mean, oh, I want to bring the knight in. Now you just get the knight chopped, Oh, I want to play d5. Well, ed. There's not a lot here. So at the end of the day, really no problems. Excuse me, I may have messed that up. I don't think you should take here after d5. Yeah, that might be incorrect. No, you should. Okay. I'm going to shut up. I'm not going to counteract myself. Anyway, so I just wanted to put the trackster to bed. Just remember, if the bishop comes out, aka the trackster, if the bishop comes out, your bishop goes in to punch black in the face. that's just to remember. Bishop comes out, your bishop goes in. Anyway, so now let's get to the main line I want to look at here, which is queen f3. So we have the normal fried liver, d5. This is all basic theory. And if you haven't memorized this, just, commit it to memory. This is the main line. Takes. And now we get to the position. So just remember that the first 7 or 8 moves there, you kind of need to know that, but it's not a big deal. Just quickly play it a couple times, and I think you'll have no problem remembering it. When we reach this position, there's 3 main moves. We have bishop back to d3, bishop back to e2, or queen f3. And you'll see, queen f3 is the most popular move here, but it's kind of reasonably split between these 3. And I really would like to make a case for queen f3. And we'll see the point of queen f3 blocking the attack on the bishop, because after here This is actually the best continuation for black, but nobody really plays it. As you can see, the number of games just went down to nothing. And it's pretty interesting. I'll kind of go over some high level ideas here. After something like bishop c5, you have to be careful about not getting your queen trapped. We'll see things like if they come out here, you just need to attack the bishop, and we'll see some kind of trades. But at the end of the day, it's about bringing your queen back out from here and not getting it trapped, because you can easily end up in a situation where you might think, oh, let's say they play bishop e2 and you take a pawn. It's actually not too good, because you can look now, but this is the only safe move for your queen, because this is covered, your queen is attacked, this is covered by the knight, excuse me, this is covered by the knight, this is covered by the pawn, this square is covered by the bishop, and you're running out of squares here. This square is covered by the pawn, so it's definitely scary. And if you're like, oh, I can just play the queen back here, yeah, but then you're going to get hit with something like knight d5, and you're going to run into some real problems here. Black gets a big initiative. You can see this weakness on c2 is going to be a huge problem. So that's just something to remember, is that ultimately we want to find a way to bring our queen back after a trade on the e4 square, and remove this nice black knight over here. At the end of the day, that's kind of what we want to look for in this line. Now, I'm about to go deep into a line here that I think is pretty popular after queen to f3. It's going to be interesting, and I'm actually going to shift over to a different study. This is a game that I played recently in this line, and this is going to be the in-depth analysis. So that was kind of just the overview. If you want to stop, whatever. But we're about to do a deep dive, 50 feet into the pool here, diving deep. Anyway, so we can. This is a game I just played, I think yesterday, and so we reached this position. And so the first common move I want to look at is bishop b7. So after bishop b7, you can see that the pin has been broken. This bishop is actually defended, so black is threatening to take. And also, if they take, your queen is under attack, and this pawn is going to be a weakness with this rook right behind it. So there's a couple issues here. And I had a good think in this position. I really didn't know what to play. I wasn't prepared yet. And I ended up playing bishop back to e2, and in this game, black actually got a really nice advantage. And let me go through the game first before I come through with the moves. I played bishop back to e7, and then watch as black is able to transform the position into an advantage. So bishop back to e7, he plays develops. I bring my knight back. I thought this was a good move. It's actually a bit of a mistake, because black is able to take and just continue to put pressure on my position. But this is a big theme in a lot of fried liver positions. You want to bring this knight back to this e4 square, blocking the e4 push from black, and trading off this knight. But in this position, it actually isn't very good. And we'll see after knight takes e4, queen takes e4, pawn to c5, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Not a great transformation of the position. I'm forced into playing queen to g4 to protect the pawn. He castles, knight comes back. I play c3, looking to enforce a break in the center with d4. We'll see, I go for it. And you'll notice over the next like 4 moves, my queen just gets bounced around. I didn't pick the best squares for it. He's attacking my queen here. I'm like, oh shit, gotta move. Attacks it again, gotta move. Attacks it again, gotta move. And now I'm noticing, oh no, I'm gonna have some problems here. Look at this initiative he has. He has 2 great bishops pointing at me. This knight's coming in, and his queens are about to get involved. Maybe the rook's gonna shift over, and we could have a bit of a problem here. And I really didn't like my position here. We'll talk about how to do this better. I took, hoping to alleviate some of the pressure on my position. This allows him to bring the bishop in and attack my queen again. But I saw in this position that I had this queen move. And again, I'm just trying to trade it off. I want to trade off this bishop. I noticed that my bishop's defended. I'm really just trying to alleviate some of the pressure here because he's winning. He's winning in this position. I missed this move, but it's actually not very good at all. I could just play G3. I was nervous about playing G3 in the game just because I didn't want to weaken my king side. Maybe there's some idea with the bishops coming in, but because my light squared bishop is still here, I can actually defend it. Unfortunately, I didn't play this and he's still winning, but after G3, queen back, and here I was able to essentially beat back his attack. But at the end of the day, this wasn't great play for me. But, you know, I consolidated the position, brought my queen back. He doesn't have an attack anymore. Brought my rook to the center. This is probably unnecessary. I can probably simply bring my knight in faster. But ultimately, he just started to play moves that didn't hold any threats. I played knight d6, rook e7, and after knight takes b5, he resigned. And I got lucky here that he's obviously not, no offense to this guy, he played pretty well, but he wasn't able to finish me off. A better player would have certainly finished me off in some type of position like this. This is just not okay for white. So now, how do we avoid this? How do we avoid this, and how can we play better? So after bishop b7, there's a couple of interesting continuations. First things first, we can look at, excuse me, bishop e2. So after, excuse me, I'm getting confused. After bishop b7, we can simply drop the bishop back. I don't think there's any problem with this. We'll notice the computer says bishop d3 or bishop e2 are the best moves. I think bishop e2 is fine. And now from this position, we can see, well, let's go over the best continuations for white. Bishop d3 is another move. So at the end of the day, you can play bishop e2 and get a solid position. I'm going to argue that bishop d3 is probably better, and the computer agrees. So after bishop b7, we want to play bishop d3, and you're like, it kind of blocks at my d pawn. I don't like to do that, but it stops this e5 push, and that's a big reason. One of the main themes in the fried liver is stopping this push to e5. So after I play bishop e2, maybe I'm in a bit of a worse position here. At the end of the day, I'm going to be playing this bishop d3 move moving forward. And now I'm going to look at a few continuations for black here. So first things first, let's look at h6. And this move essentially doesn't accomplish anything because I want to play this move anyway. And it just helps white. So bring the knight back, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4. Completely fine here. This pawn is pinned now, and great position for white. Just remember that you actually are looking to play this move. Like I said earlier, this is a theme that continues to come up. Now, instead of h6, what about bishop h7? This is an interesting one. Excuse me, not h7, bishop e7. Oh my goodness. Bishop e7. Now we can simply develop our knight. Knight to c3. Black can look to castle. b4. And this is okay, hold on. This is really interesting. So very rarely played, but b4 is a fantastic move here. Look at this. Buried in the depths of this position. Remember, I'm about to burp. No, I'm not. Maybe. I have one of those feelings where I want to burp, but I don't. This is so buried in the depths of this position is this really nice b4 maneuver. We're 10 moves deep, and there's a good chance that you may never play this position in your life, but wow, what an interesting move. And we'll see it scores incredibly well for white. And I believe it's the computer's choice here, but look at how buried it is. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most. Oh my goodness, it's insane. This b4 move is beautiful. b4, and now the big question is, hey, like, where's that knight going? Where's your knight going? And you could say, but Sam, that b4 pawn is undefended, right? He can just take it. And now you're saying, well, why did you just do that? Well, here's the point. After knight c to e4, and we have this exchange in the center, your bishop's attacked. And then you're like, well, I don't really. What do you mean? I can just drop the bishop back, right? Like, I can just drop the bishop back. Oh no, you get mated. You get mated if you do that. What an insane idea! What an insane idea! Trading off this piece to have a mate threat and also attack this bishop. Really cool idea here. So we have this trade, and black literally cannot take the bishop back. So you're like, how do I block the mate threat? F5. F5 is the best move in the position. F5 is the best move, and giving up this bishop in order to play queen takes g5, but then you can take the knight back. And then we might get queen takes g2. But after rook to f1, white has completely consolidated. There's nothing that black can really threaten here. He's completely passive. This bishop is a mess. After something like queen to c7, we'll see that white's much better. It's a fantastic position here, and something to just keep in mind. So remember, after we play this bishop d3 move, and if they play something patch up like bishop e7, remember this b4 idea. It's really fascinating. It's really cool. b4 with the intent that after bishop takes, we can trade off the knight and then set up a mate threat on h7, attacking the bishop. Really cool idea and something to think about. The other move I want to talk about, so we've talked about h6, which helps us. We talked about bishop e7, which leads to some really interesting tactical ideas. We can also talk about c5 here. So in this position, what if white just simply pushes and hits our queen? And you might be asking, you can't really defend the pawn this way. Maybe you shift the queen over. No. Bishop b5 check. This just puts a lot of pressure on black's position. And there's not much that black can really do here. We can see he can block with the knight, but then he gets mated, as has happened in 100 games, which is really nice. If he moves the king, we can play queen e2, lining up with the king, attacking the e-pawn. Queen d6, trying to defend. f4, striking out in the center, trying to open things up. e4, trying to close things down in the center. d3, again, trying to open things up. He can't push past because we just simply take. h6, batting the knight away, but then knight takes e4, hitting the queen, threatening discoveries, and this is pretty much over. Knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, and these pawns are just going to roll right into white's position here. It's not going to be any stopping. Yeah, it's just nasty. Pretty interesting stuff. Not much black can do here. So really a nice continuation here after c5. I believe c5 is just a little too weakening, and after this check, it's not too nice. So it's a pretty cool one. I don't know if I have any other variations to go over there. 16 rook f1. Oh, this is some continued variations. We don't have to look into this. This is already winning for white. Okay, so those are the continuations I wanted to go over after bishop to b7 there. I did want to go over one main line where instead of bishop to b7, we go over the best move. So after queen f3, the best move is actually not bishop to b7. There's also a move, rook to b8 here, which I can talk about. I wonder if I have a study about that. Oh, I think this is the study about that. Yeah, I'll talk about the rook to b8 move after. So let's talk about the best move. So the best move here is actually to give up the rook. C takes b5, queen takes a8. And now there's a couple of ways. I'm going to go over 4 ways for black to continue. We can play bishop to e7, as I mentioned before. This requires lashing out with d4. ed, castles, queen f3, bringing the queen back, and then h6, bringing the knight away, and knight e4. And this is an interesting game. Not much to say here. This is probably the best continuation for black. Feel free to commit this d4 move to memory. Definitely an interesting idea. after queen takes a8, there's also bishop to c5, which I think I mentioned earlier, but this move is no good for black. We can simply rotate the knight back, attacking the bishop. And after this exchange, white's queen is centralized. We see black has this development, but he doesn't really have any coordination. He has no way to attack white. And white can simply castle in this position and open up his dark square bishop. We'll see bishop b7, queen to f5, g6, queen back to h3, f5, and it looks like black is just really going after white in this position. Look at these pieces, look at these bishops. We have everything is playing, but again, he's just a little too slow here. Knight to d7, knight to d2, pushing everything forward, but there's really no way to break through. Queen out, but we just defend it. And there's not much in this position. So again, another tactical and interesting middle game will ensue. I'm not going to go 40 moves deep here, but simply it's going to be an interesting position. Black has this nice bishop. Maybe it's coming out. It's going to start to get useful. This knight isn't very good right now, but maybe sometime it can. Maybe we can break out, get this rook involved. Maybe the rook wants to come to the center. So it's going to be an interesting position no matter what. Now, after queen takes a8, we can also look at h6, which simply knight e4. There's not much to say here. Something like queen here, and after it takes, and queen back, there's just slightly better for white. So again, this knight e4 move showing up once again in the fried liver. Nothing new. We've seen this over and over. Now, queen c7. After queen c7, we need to escape with the queen. Do not get your queen trapped. b7. Bishop to b7. Queen slides back. Bishop comes out. And again, just looking to open up our bishop. And it's going to be an interesting game after probably castles, and who knows? Should be pretty cool. There is this move, bishop takes g2, which actually isn't good. And we can check it. But yeah, after here, bishop takes g2, and white is still totally fine here, because really all that's happened is you have this nice file to attack on. Like, we're going to see the knight rotate back, and it's going to be a nice... Black really can't castle here because he runs directly into bishop h6. So it's going to be an interesting position, but I would say that this g2 pawn is kind of poisonous. The computer says to take it, says it's the best move, but I don't think so. I disagree from a human perspective, simply because of the lines that it allows black to white to take advantage of. All right, last but not least, I want to go over one final line here. After our queen to f3 move, there is this move rook to b8. And this is a line that I've kind of committed to memory because it ultimately ends in a slightly better endgame for white. But it's not the easiest to find, and I don't know. You don't need to commit this to memory, but it's not that big of a deal, and it's just important to find the best moves here because both sides can go wrong. It's fairly sharp, but we'll again see some of the themes that we've already seen a bunch. So a lot of players playing bishop takes c6 check. I didn't investigate this move, but I think it fails because after queen takes, black just gets too active, I guess. And it's not... Yeah, you end up just playing too many moves with this queen. This opening is a real balance between black, like, batting your queen around for being out so early and your queen being a weapon. It's a very, very interesting balance between the two. And in this position, you really can't give up your pretty much your only active piece other than your knight and your queen. So playing the bishop back to e2 is actually the move here that I think is the best. After bishop e7, again, knight e4 shows up, looking to trade off the knights. Black doesn't really want to trade off the knights. This is a really nice knight. It's controlling the center very well. So we'll usually get knight to d5. And white plays this move d4, attempting to blow up the center. And if black makes the accidental decision of playing e d4, we have this beautiful move, queen to g3. And this is one of those things like, one of those moves like where the best move here is just to play f5. You know, this is a hard move to find. Maybe not everybody's going to find this. Very few players will find this. But maybe it's one of those lines where you commit it to memory and you're like, oh, f5, they should play f5, but he just took. Like, what do I do here? How do I punish him? Simply slide the queen over, and the rook is attacked, and the the g7 pawn is attacked, and this is going to be winning for white. So instead of ed, because he cannot take, that's the whole point of d4. Get f5. The knight comes back. And then this knight will actually come to b4. Again, declining both of the trades on both the f6 and d5 squares. Looking to attack c7. We need to defend it with knight a3. And after queen takes d4, castles, rook to d1, hitting the queen. Queen is forced back to this b6 square. And then we can continue to chase her away with knight to c4, which doesn't hang this because then you would take the queen, forcing an exchange here. Bishop takes with check. King to h8. No, now I'm burping. Queen e2. And this is simply to be able to take when he plays bishop to a6. Bishop a6. Bishop takes a6. Queen takes a6. Queen takes a6. Knight takes. And we reach this position with rook to d7. And this is where I would argue that white ends up just being slightly better here. We have an active rook on the second rank. This bishop's going to come out. This other rook's going to come out. And at the end of the day, both players have played really well. But it's something that is going to be better for white, especially for human. It's much easier to play for white here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive. That was a lot. I don't really know if I did a good job, but I'm trying my best. And maybe you guys got something out of that. If not, then I'll try better next time. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching.